Welcome to another episode of the Peak Potential Success Show. My name is Fong, I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, and best-selling author. And every single day, I help others unlock the potentials and guide them to succeed. Today on the show, I have an amazing guest. I was very, very fortunate and honored to share a virtual stage with him at a recent conference. And when I heard him speak, I was blown away. So many great wisdoms, like nuggets of truth and nuggets of wisdom that I couldn't wait to connect with him. And I'm very, very excited to have him here today. He's worked with so many different types of people, from billionaires to supermodels to athletes. And with his 25 plus years of experience in studying and teaching and coaching of the patterns of success, he's helped so many people liberate themselves with belief and hope and love once again. And of course, he's helped them kick their aspirations to the next level. So please welcome our expert in behavioral dynamics, a lifesmith, a results ninja, business strategist, speaker, coach, entrepreneur, all that great stuff, Dr. Keith Waggoner.
Hey, man, thank you so much. That was awesome. Wait, what can I say after that great introduction, man? That was
I'm sure you got a lot more you can share.
Well, you did that great, man. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much for your time and for being here and sharing some great little bits of value for us. So first of all, for lots of people who may or may not know who you are, can you give us a quick kind of rundown from where you were and how you got to where you are today?
Sure. Yeah. I started out in the clinical psychology world, working with really forensic state hospitals, people who were found not guilty for reasons of insanity, people who were declared manifestly dangerous, the really the darkest and the most interesting at times of all the clinical psychology world. And when I was there, I realized, man, these people are in a system and they're not getting any better. And the system just propagates itself. It just goes on and on and on. And part of what I did within that system is try to help these people get better. And then I was exposed to a guy a lot of people know. I still consider him the best among us coaches, a guy named Tony Robbins. And I was listening to some of his stuff just up in one of my doctoral programs. I was up late, procrastinating, doing a paper. I had it on the old home shopping network, and I saw Tony come on. And I'll try to do a Tony impersonation here. He said, the problem is that people, when they get depressed, they don't have a way to get out of it. And it caught my attention as I was just scrolling through the channels. And I'm like, what is he talking about? And I ordered one of his systems, it was the old cassette tape, 30-day personal power program. And man, I just fell in love with the idea of what he did with neuro-linguistic programming and how he turned it into a conditioning system where it's not just in that moment in time that you change your mindset, but what you do over and over and over that gets all the results. I started applying that kind of idea and mindset and technology to even my patients in the forensic state hospital. And man, it was amazing. It was amazing the differences that was made, and people were astonished. And it just gave me the opportunity to say, wait a minute, I can have a greater impact than even just in this one little setting. So I made the decision to transition from clinical psychologist, from a clinician to, really an entrepreneur, a coach. I still love the word life coach, even though some people, say, oh, you're not just a life coach. But I can't think of anything better than coaching people how to live their life, man, because that's what I do. Whether it's performance, finances, it's all about what's in here, and then what you can do in here. I don't know, did that answer the question?
Oh yeah, for sure. Something you could probably add in is that little movement for
oh yes.
So something I really enjoyed about that history of yours is that not only were you already immersed in the brain area, but you've learned so much more with something that was outside of that industry. You brought in the entrepreneurial spirit and allowed you to really expand what you were doing and what you love doing as well. And just wanted to see from that transition, how was that transition from clinical to entrepreneurship work for you? And was there lots of people told you, no, that's not the way to go?
Yeah, especially. That's a great question. Thank you for asking. Yeah, and it was kind of tough because the clinical idea is that you don't go out and proselytize. You don't go out and find clients. And I had almost no training when it came to business, when it came to finances. I was really just a drone, doing my job, head down. Now, it's a fantastic job, but, I was still just an employee. And so the transition really mindset was helping me look up and see, wait a minute, there's more to this. there's more to life than just this one box or this one category. And someone who, I never got the privilege to meet, but his philosophy helped me with this was Bruce Lee, in the philosophy of Jeet Kune Do, which is this idea of research all things, add what is useful, reject what is useless, and then create what is specifically your own. And this philosophy helped me look at life from an overall big arching picture and say things like, you know what, there's more to life than just this part of helping people. And that was really my motivation to help me get out. And it was very uncomfortable. It was hard to ask people for money. It was hard to, sell myself in such a way that, I presented the value that gave people confidence. Being a broker of certainty when it came to that was tough. But when I realized, wait a minute, I cannot add value to people's lives unless I'm willing to truly and sincerely talk about myself and what I have to offer them in a sincere way. Mm-hmm. And so instead of seeing it as bragging on myself, which made me very uncomfortable, instead it was just telling the truth with humility. Because, I can talk about the thousands of people that I've helped change their lives. And that's not about me. That's just me being honest about the wonderful work and the impact, kind of, the good medicine, if you will, that I have to offer someone. Just like you're doing right now, man. I've looked you up, looked at your stuff. You're doing great work. I'm
awesome. Well, thank you very much for that. Now, you could be the best of what you do, but if people don't know who you are, they don't know you exist, then it really means nothing. So what was that thing that you were able to kind of clue into that goes, you know what, I need to do this differently so that I can actually help more people. I am the best, but I need people to know who I am. So how did you navigate through that?
Well, it's exactly that. I mean, you've got to get the story out there, and you must be able to give people a good enough reason to want to work with you. When it comes down to it, it's all emotional transactions. When I meet someone and I talk about something, I must be willing to understand the value that I have to offer and believe in it enough so that in that moment I can present it to someone as a beautiful gift, and for them to look at it and say, yes, this is something that I need. This is something that I want. I must be willing and able to talk about myself and everything that I see in such a high level of confidence that they can believe in my competence. Mm-hmm. And so it was really a matter of doing that. And one of the things that I learned is that, always ask questions first. Don't offer somebody something. It could be the best something in the world, but if it doesn't solve their problems, then it's going to do them no good. Mm-hmm. And so you have to really work on that process of rapport first. And then you're just simply serving instead of selling. I'm able to really offer them something genuine that I really think that they can use and that will really help their lives. And then in turn, that helps me feel good about saying, okay, here's the deal. Whether it's asking for money or, charging people for something or being able to say, hey, here's the upgrade that you're going to have in your life. And I'm only going to charge you this amount of money. And man, what a deal that is for you. I have to first believe that. But then I also must have rapport enough with that person in the moment to be able to offer it and for me to believe and them to believe that it's a solution that they're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, the solution that you've been coming up with has helped so many people. And you've worked with so many different types of people from different industries, from different skill sets and different levels. And some of the stuff that you share with them is the patterns of success. So what are those patterns? And what do people usually forget about when it comes to success?
Great questions. First, when it comes to patterns, that's right. I mean, the first thing is we must be willing and able to face ourselves before we can face anything else. So I have to first look within and get super curious. So one of the first things I teach people is to stop judging themselves from a place of punishment or putting yourself down. And instead, just get curious by asking the question, what is it that, number one, that I really want? And then number two, what's really preventing me from getting it? And so from that basic place, you can begin to understand the patterns of what you do consistently. And I teach something called AQ, which is adaptability quotient. And it's really at its core, just the ability to recognize patterns, whether it is in the act of doing something or in a space of transition between doing one thing to another. You must be willing to take a look at yourself and understand what your response patterns are. And then I break that down into two basic categories, something I call correct response patterns and then incorrect response pattern. A correct response pattern is something that I do that gets me closer to what I really want. An incorrect response pattern is something that I do probably repeatedly that may be, again, a pattern that gets me further away from what I don't want. And I've got to have the insight and the willingness and really the guts in that moment to take a quick look at myself, to be honest. Because if I'm not being honest with myself about those patterns, then I'll never, ever, ever be willing to move forward. And by the way, martial arts is one of the things that has really helped me conceptualize this and understand it for myself. Because, for instance, if somebody wants to punch me in the face, and I don't want them to punch me in this face, right? I've got to understand, is what I'm about to do going to be successful at what I want? Can I stop that person from punching me in the face? Now, in that moment, we have real truth, man. I mean, I'm talking, we have real truth, because can I stop that person from punching me in the face? Because I'll know pretty quickly if I have a correct response to that. And, this is one of the things where martial arts can help people. Because if my answer to that isn't successful, I'm going to have immediate feedback, right? To know, do I need to change my tactics or not? The thing I help people do in that moment is stop lying to themselves. And if they get punched in the face, to just tell the truth. Hey, my answer wasn't good enough in that moment. So now I have to stop and take a look and decide, am I going to change? Am I just going to blame that other person to say, hey, wait a minute, you didn't punch me correctly? Hey, wait a minute, you're attacking me wrong, bad guy. Or am I really going to be willing to change what I'm doing? And then, of course, from that moment of discovery, I have to make a real decision about what I'm going to do there forward. Am I going to change my training? How am I going to change that? And then you have this whole system of conditioning that has to take over afterwards.
Well, that's a great segue to my next question. I was about to say that I know you're into martial arts. I know you were part of special forces and all that kind of stuff. And you're able to take those areas of your life and complement your entrepreneurial life as well. But not many people can do that. Lots of people go, well, I do this and it's this. I do this and it's this. And they're not able to make that connection that this could actually help both sides. What is that thing that people can do to allow them to realize, wait a minute, I could use this to complement this. I could use this to complement that. And therefore, time's not wasted. It actually makes you more unique and more valuable to your clients. Because just as you've done right now, you're able to take a comparison of being punched in the face to entrepreneurship. So how can people actually make those connections easier and faster?
Well, man, you got some great questions, bro. I'm telling you, that's good. I mean, those are great questions. And the first thing that comes to my mind, and I hope this is helpful, is you've got to zoom out and see the patterns, right? I mean, you can zoom into a microscope and you can see patterns in electrons and molecules and all that. Or you can zoom out and look at the universe, and it's just amazing, the similarities, right? You see patterns and design and all of those things. And so one of the things that helps people really connect, let's say, this compartment with this compartment in their life, like let's say being a successful business person and being a great husband, let's say, is you have to zoom out and see what are the success formulas, or like I said, the correct responses to those things. And it always starts with, I know, man, I sound like a broken record, and I learned this from Tony Robbins. It gets you to that very first place of asking that very first, very basic question is, what do I really want? So first I zoom out and I go, wait a minute, do I really want to be successful as a businessman? And do I also at the same time want to be successful, let's say, as a husband? Which are questions that I have to constantly ask myself. And if that's the case, then I need to see the overlapping patterns in those two things to see what it is that I must do to simply have a recipe for success. And we know that starts, number one, with really being honest. Number two, doing a great evaluation to answer that question. Because I don't want to, as important as great questions are, I don't want to be all questions and no answers. So I must be willing to give a great answer to that very basic question, which is, what do I really want? And then step three is to create a systematic way of measuring, of really being able to understand in any moment, am I being successful or not? Because, I could get into an argument. I'm like telling my wife, hey, get out of here. I got to be on with Fong. Don't you understand that I can get on in an argument, say, no, come on. Because I know I got to be here on time. And I know I've got to show up here. So I'm going to be successful here. But if I'm mean to my wife in the process, you see, I have failed. And, in grades in school, 50% is an F. That's not being successful. That's a failure. And so I've got to understand what I want in that moment, which is, oh, wait a minute, I also want to be very sweet to my wife. And so how can I respond to her and keep in mind in this moment adaptability quotient, my, just like intelligence, having the ability in the moment to keep my sight on what's really valuable, what I really want, keeping in mind, wait a minute, I want to be a great husband, and her heart in this moment is my current target. I have this partnership with a guy who trains, the top military teams in the world. And we have an event called Principled Savage. And it's where we take people from the private sector and take them through and give them some of the very same integrative combative training that they do to the top, let's say, Navy SEAL teams. The main thing that people get from that course is the ability to identify a target and stay on that target and be successful with that thing before they move on to the next. So let's pretend I'm a Navy SEAL and I'm here and I'm facing a bad guy, right? I can't skip this bad guy just because I want to get out of there. I got to give this target, this bad guy, the respect he deserves. I have to understand what I want in this moment and what it means to be successful. And it works the same way whether it's dealing with my wife or, showing up on time for this wonderful interview or, my next decision that I'm going to make in my business. I have to have an ability to slow down and do target acquisition. That is the ability to have adaptability quotient, which is to go from being loving husband to kick-ass entrepreneur on this call with you. It's the same formula.
That is absolutely awesome. Now, lots of people are going to sit here and go, well, that's easy for you to say. You're a doctor, you're successful, you've coached so many people. How can I relate to that? Is there something that you've gone through yourself? Like a major challenge, a big failure or something, and then how did you overcome it yourself?
Oh man, you want to talk about failures, bro. Oh, you're speaking my language. I have failed so many times. I mean, in all of it, I break down my systems of coaching to 8 core categories, which are, the 8 major things or just, categories that you want to constantly improve in and get better at. I failed at every single one of them. I mean, and not just a little bit. I have failed big time. Even though I'm financially free. I'm so thankful to be able to say that. But man, I filed bankruptcy. I've had nothing. When it comes to my health and fitness, I've been in the hospital about to die from a heart attack before. I've lost everything. I've lost relationships. I've blown up the man that I was. I've been divorced. I've had betrayal. Man, in every single area in life, bro, I have blown it. I mean, it's just a fact. But there's a constant thing that's helped me do this, which is this idea of mission. I couldn't stay in that place.
Mm-hmm.
I had children. I had other people who were counting on me. And I knew that if I wallowed in that self-pity and stayed there, that, nothing would have been better. But I had to rebuild. And so the way that people hopefully can relate to what I'm saying is just understanding, you know what? I've been that guy. I've been that guy that's messed up. I've been that guy that's made bad decisions. I've been that guy that's lost. I've been that guy that's been betrayed. And you can rebuild better. Mm-hmm. But you have to do just the next right thing. And again, I know here's that broken record, but you go back to in that moment of asking yourself this question very honestly, what do I really want? And in that moment, as I was laying in that hospital bed about to die, no one there for me, absolutely alone, losing everything. Fong, I had to ask myself a question, man. What's my life about? And then that same form of that very simple question, what do I want? Do I want to lay here in self-pity and die? Is that the measure of my life? Is that what it's going to be about? And the answer was no. There's got to be more. And then I humbled myself and said, well, what can I do? Instead of focusing on what I lost, I had to focus on what I could gain in that next step. And then it was a matter of showing up, rebuilding, doing what I could do. I started very lowly after everything that I'd lost everything, went back into a place where I was working a job, as a psychologist, and you just start back there. One of the downfalls of our Western culture, here in the United States and what we consider the Western world is that we see things in a linear line. We think that you have to do this and then this and then this, and it has to be a constant progression. And that can be useful at times. But one of the things I really appreciate about Eastern philosophies is they see life more as a sphere, more as a circle. And, like the yin and the yang. And so I understand that it's all about a matter of movement and flow. And so that if I need to, thinking about it linearly again, go back a step. Like, I was already a multimillionaire when I lost everything, and I went back to below zero, and I was in debt. I had people take money from me and all this stuff. I mean, it was amazing what happened. But instead of seeing things linearly, I realized, you know what, I can go back to this place and then just do the next thing, because I had a success formula. And that success formula was do your best to treat other people great, do your best to add value in the moment, do your best to learn, do your best to never give up, and just keep going. Winston Churchill said, if you're going through hell, don't stop. That means if I'm driving through hell, I'm not going to get out of my car and pitch a tent right there. I'm not going to go, yep, this is my life right here in the middle of hell. No, man, I'm going to keep going. And some people in bad situations all around the world underestimate what they're capable of. Right. And I think that, you've heard it said over and over, that's probably the thing that people are the most afraid of. Is, they're afraid of trying because they're afraid that they're going to fail. They're afraid that it won't work. But if you just keep going, man, keep answering that question, keep upgrading, and don't give up, and realize that you've got something in your life that is so very valuable. And it's not just about your success, and it's not just about, the money in your bank. It's about you and how you affect other people's lives. Then over a year, and then over 5 years, and over 10 years, man, you can rebuild back better, because even if you're going through something hard, those things are a lesson to you. Can I share with you one of my favorite kind of euphemisms about God?
Sure. Of course.
And I was revisiting this just the other day, and it starts like this. It says, I asked God for strength, and he gave me struggles to overcome. I asked God for wisdom, and he gave me problems to solve. I asked God for love, and he gave me other people to care about. And I don't care who you are, in the worst situation of your life, you have that ability to show up and to keep going. And it may be hard, it may be painful, and you may not know what to do, man. I coach people in many different realms of life, from they're being in a moment where they want to take their own life, all the way to what am I going to do with this next $1 billion? And everything in between. This simple formula is where it's at.
Like, one of the common themes that you were talking about there is it has to do with the mind. You can say persistency, you can say keep at it, you can keep on going, but if you don't have that mindset to do it, then you'll eventually kind of back off. So what's that routine that you have that constantly maintains that mindset of, I'm going to keep on going, I'm going to stay positive? Is there a routine that you have, or is there a forced habit that you've implemented to force it to be continuous?
Oh yeah, more and more great questions, man. You got the formula here. I can tell, Fong. You know what you're talking about, because it does, man. It comes down to making yourself do it. Can I talk about Tony Robbins again?
Yeah, for sure.
I don't have a Tony Robbins mention limit, do I? I don't know. He may start charging us. I don't know. But I heard Tony say, he gets up on stage, and this is one of the things that I admire the most about him. He's just really the real deal. And he'll say, you see this guy right here? This guy doesn't happen by accident. I make this guy happen on purpose every day. Now, he's got to show up and become Tony Robbins. And so every single day, man, I've got a ritual. And a ritual is something that is so sacred that, I give it ultimate meaning, because I understand how powerful it is. And I cannot skip my rituals. I call my morning ritual, I call it the EGP. That stands for exertion, gratefulness, and planning. So every single morning I get up, and one of the first things I do is I get out and I take a look at the sunlight, if at all possible, if it's not before the sun comes up. And I fill my eyes with as much sunlight as possible, and that's so very important. You can do research on that and see how important that is for your biorhythms, for your brain, vitamin D, all that stuff. And then I get into this idea of exerting myself. So I move my body. I wake my body up. I help my brain remember that I'm alive, still here in this world, and that I've got work to do. And then I get into a process of gratefulness, and it could be just as simple as saying, thank you, God. Being in this place where I realize that I am so very, very, very thankful, that I'm just so humbled to be able to do what I do, to touch people's lives and talk to awesome people like you. And then it's the planning part, where I make sure that I do something that I call yes management, which is I get down to a moment of recognizing my priorities in this day and having schedule integrity to put it in my schedule for that day to actually show up by answering all of those great basic questions and then doing the very best that I can. And so it's rituals that you do every single day. And people come to me and they say, Keith, I'm struggling with this. I don't understand why I'm not getting better at my relationship. I don't understand why I'm not making more money. I don't understand why I'm not feeling better and loving my life. And the thing that I ask them, Fong, over and over, especially people who are clients of mine, is, hey, are you doing your rituals? Are you showing up every morning, focusing on what you want instead of what you don't want? And then pouring positive and powerful energy, thoughts, dynamics, what I say, NLP, all this stuff into the who that you must be that day. And when people aren't successful, you know what they mostly tell me? They say, nope, I'm not doing that. I'm like, well, no wonder. It's like saying, why can't I lift more weight when you're not going out lifting weights? It's a simple formula. You just have to show up and feed your mind. It's something that I call the growth formula, which is focus plus energy equals growth. Wherever focus goes, energy flows, and wherever energy flows, that will grow. So I can focus on anything. I could focus on some event in my life, and I could focus on it in such a way that I'm opening it up. Now I have an opportunity to feed it with what that means, with some kind of either positive or negative energy. And if I feed that thing with negative energy, man, it's going to get more negative. It's not complicated. Or I can go, wait a minute, this was one of the most powerful lessons in my life. All that stuff that I told you earlier that I had blow up in my life, I look at that as one of my greatest teachers. I am so thankful for that time. And of course, it's easy to say once I've moved past it. But even during that time, I was determined, Fong, to have this mindset of this is happening for me, not to me. And when I did, and look, I mean, I'm living the life right now. I'm living my life of my dreams. In all of those 8 categories, man, I love it. I get to serve. I get to show up here and be with you, man. I mean, what more could a guy want except just to continue to add value?
That is awesome. I love how I love how positive and how much energy you had when you mentioned that some of the toughest moments is your greatest teachers. And it gave you the ability to really grow and learn. And it really feeds back into that euphemism that you kind of shared as well. And that was absolutely amazing. There's a lot of other people who would come up to you and go, you know what, I'm really struggling in this, I'm really struggling in that, I'm trying to do all this stuff, but they keep on coming up with justifications as to why they didn't do something. And for myself, having that accountability partner or having somebody to hold you accountable or a group of people to hold you accountable is very, very important. Are there certain things that you recommend for people to do when they're working with an accountable person or a group? How do they set up those challenges? How do they set up those little rules so that they can keep each other in line?
Yeah, great. Again, another great question. Yeah, anytime that you're working with someone, whether it's a coach, a mentor, what I call a BIA or a brother in arms or a sister in arms, someone that you really, want to do life with. Remember, first rule always is that you've got to identify what you want. And then that helps you really pick your proximity, which is who is it that you want to do this with you? And of course, there's a certain obligation that we have as successful people to bring people along. It's not all about us. We also have to contribute to others. But in anything that I specifically want to get better at, I want to pick somebody who's already successful that I can learn from. And I want to make sure that I vet that person properly, which means I take a look at their life and I understand who they really are. Because man, you know what? It's like stepping in dog poop. It's going to get on me, man. And if I don't see them for who they really are, oh man, I mean, I'm going to step all in it. It's going to contaminate me. The people you're around have the greatest influence on you. Now, you need people. We need a tribe. You got to find your tribe and you have to love them hard. And you need to do this because, I mean, it's what I call a force multiplier. The greatest force multiplier in the world is relationships, and you've got to seek them out. The most successful people in the world value relationships over any other currency. And so create these relationships, make sure that you foster them, you spend time with them, but also, and here's another key, make sure you have an outcome for that relationship. Make sure you know what that relationship's for. Be very purposeful about your mindset and your understanding. This person does this. We exchange this energy. I do this for them, they do this for me. Now, we're not saying that all relationships need to be transactional, but you do need to be very cognizant of what the purpose of this relationship is for.
Yeah.
Where people get themselves in trouble is that they become passive about their relationships. They don't treat them like real currencies. And they're just like, oh yeah, I'll go hang out with this person. But this person just, throws up all their problems all over you. And you wonder why you're feeling bad afterwards. You're wondering why you're not successful. It's because you're not learning and growing. And that prevents you from contributing to that person too.
Mhm.
One of my number one criteria for anybody working with me is they got to be all in. They can't show up and, just half-ass something. They got to be fully in, fully committed, fully dedicated, or I won't work with them, because it's not about me, it's about them. And I don't want their negativity rubbing off on me either.
Right. That's very, very true when it comes to relationships. Something I put a lot of time and effort into to make sure I could maintain them, to engage and flourish them, because you never know. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know who can help each other and whatnot. So I love that aspect as well. There's a lot of people now who either starts off in entrepreneurship or working with a company and whatnot, and they do these personality tests. And to find out, which category are they best in, or which strengths do they have, what weaknesses do you have? How do you interpret these results? And also, do you recommend people do these personality tests?
Great questions. Yeah, I do like them. Now, of course, remember who you're talking to. I'm a psychologist.
Exactly.
So I love tests. But I mean, there can be a problem with tests, right? The first thing that people must understand about tests is that they're just an indication. They're not law. They're not an absolute fact. They show an indication of typical trend. Because think about it, people made it. People made these things up. They're just diagnostic tools. They don't tell you the whole story. But I've seen people who've taken personality tests like the Myers-Briggs or other things, and they use it as a label, and they use it as a way to box themselves in and to limit themselves. Man, you got to be careful about that.
Yeah.
Because all of these things can change. Now, I love like the DISC score. I love the Enneagram. I mean, there's so many smart people out there, man, and I'm learning from these guys every day. But for instance, like with the DISC score, I use that just to help me as a coach, to help me understand how this person typically, now to me, the word typically is very powerful, how they typically will process information. And it helps me approach them and then help them make sense out of their own processes. For instance, somebody on the DISC score, if they're a super high I in their DISC, it tells me that they're going to really probably want to talk things out, and that in my session time with them, I'm going to have to give them room to really think out loud and to process. I call it external processing. But at the same time, it helps me understand that I will have to make them aware that you can process all day long and not get anything done.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to land them and say, hey, there's that super high I. Can I give you a little high D here to get something done? And then they'll go, yeah. And then it helps me also help them make sure that they follow through by just understanding their own processes. Like if you're a super high I, you're going to need structure. You're going to need accountability. You're going to need a way to make this fun, probably. And so I find them very helpful. But again, anybody that's wanting to use these assessments, make sure you know what the hell you're talking about before you use them. Don't just throw them at people because you think it makes you sound smart. If there's anything worse than not doing an assessment, is making somebody do an assessment and not knowing how to use it for their benefit.
Mm-hmm.
That's just wasted time.
Yeah.
And when you waste people's time, that's one of the worst things you can do for them.
Yeah, for sure. And I was going out on a limb with that question. I was hoping you come up with that comment or that reply, because one of the things that kind of bugs me the most is when people come up to us and say, yeah, but I can't do that because I'm a self-starter, I'm a fast starter, and therefore I can't do this. I'm like, well, that's not the point of these tests. The fact that you're high here and low here means, hey, maybe work on the low stuff so you can build that up to be more balanced throughout the entire personality, right? So I really liked how you answered that question, and it fits what I've been telling people too. So thank you for that.
Hey, well, tell them I said so. You say, hey, that one guy, he said you need to do this. And they don't take very much time at all, right? It's just, but it is a great helpful tool. And one of the things I frame it up, I say, hey, this helps me help you. Do you want me to help? You want to help me help you? You mean you don't want me to help you help you? You mean you want to make it harder for me to help you? And they're like, no. Well, then take the damn test. It's that easy.
Now, it's throughout this conversation, I've heard a lot of stuff where you're growing, you're learning, you're still constantly learning. What would you say is one of the most impactful comments or advice that one of your coaches has given you, without referring to Tony Robbins?
Oh, took away my whole game there, bro. So man, so many things. Probably the thing that comes to my mind the most is to be real, to be really myself, and to really care. And so to really, really care, because people can tell if you're just there to take from them, right? I mean, if you're fake, if you're a poser, if you're just there and you don't know what you're talking about. So be real. And in the world of coaching, everything from like children's sports or whatever, I mean, coaches are powerful, man. And if a coach tells you to do something, people take that as the gospel. They'll believe it. And so, people need to be careful. There's an old joke that says, in order to be a life coach, all you have to do is have a divorce and a bankruptcy, and you think you can help people. And that's sad because, I think that we have one of the most noble professions. We're helping people design their lives. What's better than that, man? I mean, we affect everything down to the core of who they are.
Mhm.
So to really be real, to be authentic, and to know what you're doing, so you have to be your own number one client with your own growth, with your own authenticity, with your own mindset. And if you're not real, if you're just a poser out there, don't do it. Do yourself and all those people a favor, and don't just try to take their money because you think coaching is going to be easy.
Well, something that stuck out from there is the importance of being real. But in this environment of social media, cancel culture, and all that kind of stuff, being real sometimes prevents you from doing what you want to do, right? Or sharing what you want to say, or giving the message that you want to give out, because it's so easy to offend certain groups of people, or get completely isolated from another group of people. So what's your take on this whole cancel culture reality that we're facing right now?
Yeah, well, I mean, how many times have we heard it say, especially in times of old, the person who controls communication, controls the media, that's the person that controls the world. And we're just seeing that in a greater amount right now.
Mhm.
Now, I will say, be yourself, but be smart. People don't need to know everything about it. One of the effects that social media has on people is we think that if somebody types something about us, we have to respond. You don't. I mean, have integrity, have boundaries, be willing to tell people that's none of your business, because it's not. We're all people, and in the cancel culture idea is the idea that they're supposed to scrutinize you and get you into something that's called a Kafka trap. And a Kafka trap is this emotional place where you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. There's no response.
Mhm.
It's like saying, hey, if you don't admit that you're this, then it proves that you're this. There's no right answer to that. I
Yeah.
mean, it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And so the thing you've got to do is don't fall for the bait. And the way to do that is to have your own emotional seam sewn together, which means that, I'm so sure about who I am that I don't have to put it all out there. That's number one. Number two is remember your audience. If you are a professional that's out there influencing other people, you have to use social media as a professional means, because anything you put out there is going to stay out there. And so let's just take somebody, let's say like Joe Rogan. And one of the things that people love about Joe Rogan, loved and probably still do love, is that he's out there, right?
Yeah.
But we see where he gave himself license to do some things and they come back and bit him in the butt. Now, we have to ask the question, was he prepared for that? Did he do that on purpose? Did he understand what he was doing? I don't know. I don't know Joe Rogan personally. I've met him a couple of times, but I mean, that's about it. But he had to come back, right? And with all this power and with all this influence, one of the things good that I saw that he did is he was willing to admit where he made a mistake.
Yeah.
And he was willing to come back and say, hey, I didn't mean it that way, but man, this hurt you. And I get it, and lesson learned, please forgive me. But just keep in mind, when it comes to social media, it's your profession. People will use it against you. And that's what the whole cancel culture is people think that they have power over you by canceling you, by saying you're no longer effective, by calling you bad names. And people don't want to be a part of anything negative. It's a part of human nature. And so if someone says that you're negative, they won't go out and do their own research. They won't try to get to know you personally. They'll just jump on that bandwagon. But as professionals, we got to keep this in mind. For instance, in the Tony Robbins organization, before they hire anybody, they scour their social media. Not because they are trying to judge somebody, but because they can't have you being some guy that puts a stain on the brand. And so if you've done that, and if you think that you need Twitter in order to be an effective person, if you need to say things and be controversial, I mean, I'm just inviting you to step up and to check yourself. Why does somebody have to do that? Right? Make your platform helping people. Make your platform with what you really know and research. Make your platform something that you truly believe in, and don't be one of those people who jump on a bandwagon just because it's going to make you look cool.
Very well said.
Did that answer the question at all?
For sure, it fits what I've been preaching as well. Treating your social media like your online resume, and don't put anything there that you don't want your employer or your clients to see. So yeah, thank you for agreeing.
Yeah, yeah, right is right, right? I mean, you get it, you get it.
So,
and then people put stuff out there, and then they get mad when somebody responds to it. What do you think they were going to do? I mean, come on, fish are going to bite hooks. That's what they do.
Exactly, you're kind of asking for it when you're putting stuff out there. This time talking to you has flown by very, very fast. I got one more really formal question for you, and then we'll jump on to some other stuff. And the formal question is, you're on the world stage and you have a few moments to share one message that you want everybody to remember Dr. Keith by. What's that message?
Man, you did it to me, didn't you? You gave me the one question thing. All right. These are always so much fun, man. And when I answer them, sometimes I go back and go, oh, I wish I would have said this. I wish I had something better to say. So please forgive me if this isn't what you're looking for, but man, the one thing that if I'm up on the stage to say is, make sure you realize that this is your life. This is your one go round. And people come to me and they ask me that question, what do you want your clients really to get? And it's to help them to develop, to be really present at the moment and to realize that success isn't money in the bank, but it's being able to wake up and in the morning and go, man, this is my life and I love it. And then looking forward to the day and having the ability to be present in the moment and enjoy, how beautiful that moment is. My sister, who was just 8 years older than me, died last year because of complications of a stroke and COVID. And man, left her kids, a daughter with Down syndrome. And, my sister Tammy is gone. And I even find myself doing what I do, sitting here in this moment going, man, I wish I would have fill in the blank, right? And so take advantage of these moments now. Wake up, realize what real success is, which is connecting with people, loving people, and enjoying life.
Awesome. Good words to live by.
Thank you.
I think you knocked it out of the park.
I hope so.
All right. To wrap things up, I got a few quick things, rapid fire questions for you to answer and to get to know you. You have an opportunity to spar with anybody in the world, dead or alive. Who would that one person be?
Dead or alive? Woo, that expands it. Oh man, so many. One of the guys who I've had the most respect for passed away just a few years ago. His name is Chris Syok, and a profound man that taught me so much and taught my instructor, my brother, so much. And he just a fantastic man. He created the Syok martial arts system and created ways to train the best military guys in the world. It would be to spend a day with him, but to spar, I mean, he was on such a level that just surpasses anything that I sometimes you can comprehend. It would be just spend a day talking martial arts and mindset and just being able to feel his hands and have him direct me. It'd be Pamana Tuhan, Chris Syok.
Awesome. One person that you would be able to, who you would wish you can be in a movie with, co-star with.
Oh, a movie. Man, someone I think would be super fun to be in a movie with would be Gary Oldham. I don't know if you know who he is. He is like the consummate support role guy, but has played such a variety of roles, police commissioner and Batman, all the way to Dracula. This dude is phenomenal actor, and he would be the guy that I would act with that would make me look like a real actor. So he's that good. Probably Gary Oldham.
One person you would love to share the stage with at a speaking conference.
A guy I'd love to share the stage with, and I'm thinking not just sensationalism, but someone that would really be willing to and able to share, kind of the other side of things. It would probably be Jordan Peterson.
All right. So now you have these three people in your car on a road trip, and you have one song that's stuck in the car ride for hours and hours. What's that one song that you would love to listen to over and over again?
Wow, man, great question. That's so creative. one song we had to listen to over and over and over. It would probably be the song New York, New York by Frank Sinatra.
Awesome. And then also, you need to provide dinner for these guys. What's that special dish that you could provide or that you could cook?
Oh, crawfish.
Ah.
Live here in the South. Watching somebody eat those, figure out what to do with them, man, that would be fun.
And my last segment here, give me a number from 1 to 4.
4.
1, 2, 3, 4. So how is success relatable to dinosaurs?
Dinosaurs, awesome. Success is relatable to dinosaurs because you have to optimize and maximize every day, or you're going to go extinct. Absolutely. If you don't take a look at your product and your offering and your service and always ask, how can I make this a little bit better today? How can I make myself a little bit better today? Man, you're going to go extinct. Just a fact.
Awesome. Well done. That is how success is like dinosaurs. Once again, thank you very much for your time. All the great nuggets of wisdom. It was a joy talking to you. This hour's gone by very, very fast.
Oh, man. Thank you so much, man. I mean, this is one of the best podcasts I've ever been on. Thank you so much for having me, man. I've really enjoyed myself. Thank you.
Awesome. Now, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
They can, I'm still kind of old school, so write me a letter. No, I'm just kidding. You can send me an email, or if you want to share any of my links, KeithMWaggoner.com. That's WAGGONER. Or if anybody's interested in supporting our nonprofit to help stop human trafficking, OperationRescueChildren.org. We're always looking for prayers, for supporters, for people to share the word about how awful human trafficking is. So if they want to jump on that, you can get a hold of me really easy.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Any last words, or did you want to talk more about those foundations?
Yeah, if I could, I'm always looking for an audience. Yeah, we started off just realizing that human trafficking is worse than it's ever been. There are more slaves today in the world than ever before in the world, Fong. Can you believe that, man? I mean, ever before, over right at 50 million. That's more than the entire population of Canada in slaves. And only about 1% of women and children who are ever enslaved ever get out alive, man. And so I had to do something. I knew I couldn't do everything, but I had to do something. So I started a nonprofit. And what we do is we train already existing teams that are in place to, combat human trafficking. We train them to be better in mindset, in combative techniques to help them survey and stop and arrest the bad guys. We work with teams like the Texas Rangers. We work with missionary, non-government organizations overseas. And sometimes these people are just people who have been victims themselves that, are putting their lives out there. And so we're looking for people to help join us, multiply, because we have a 10x effect, because there is no competition. We are for all these other teams. But one of the things we also do is we help vet teams, because as big of a problem as human trafficking is, there's lots of money, billions and billions, almost $100 billion yearly in this thing, man. And when I say that number, it's almost incomprehensible. You can't believe it's one of the biggest things, because you can sell a weapon once, you can sell an ounce of cocaine once, but you can sell a child over and over and over again, man. It's big money. Cartel, terrorist organizations are in it. And so we help vet also the other teams to make sure they're legitimate, because we don't want people going out there and just taking money. We want to apply it to these teams. We train all these teams for free. And if you would love to be a part of this, to help an operator or to help a child or to help, create a system that we need, man, we'd love you. We'd love to have you here. So check out our website, man. Give me a call. I'll talk to you about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for all that great work that you do. And for everybody out there, if you want to be involved and you want to help out, make sure you connect with Dr. Keith here. On top of that, he has a whole bunch of other great content and knowledge as well. So thank you very much again for your time, for being here. And until next time, he is Dr. Keith Waggoner. My name is Fong. Until next time, today is the day to lock your peak potential. I'll see you later.